Ricon, Stratton from Woodturning. My siblings like to get together in the summertime. A couple of years ago we got together and we turned some pens on some lathes that I have. And last year we turned some spindle projects, mainly scratchers and different things of that sort. This year I thought we'd have them move up to an actual bowl. We'll see how brave they are, but it'll be a bowl. I have to give credit to this idea to a fellow at SWAT who's turning new people and using a fir wood to turn a small bowl. I don't remember his name, but anyway, that's what got me the idea for this for my siblings. So unfortunately, I cannot take my nice Powermatic lathe up to where we are going to get together. I have to use the portable lathes. I have several that I use for pen turning for groups, a Ricon 12-inch and then several Wen 8-inch lathes. So we'll see. This project will be a test to see if I can turn this bowl on a small 8-inch lathe with basic turning tools that they hopefully will be comfortable using. So let's turn this nice little bowl. The wood for this project is common lumber store fir, more specifically a 2x8. I purchased a full length and made a cardboard template for an octagon. I surveyed the wood for defects and marked good sections with the template, then cut the project pieces on the bandsaw. You could argue that a circle would be a better starting point. However, I usually start more irregular. Also, my bandsaw is not rigged for circles of this size, so an octagon it will be. One of the lathes that my siblings will use is a small Wen lathe. It is an inexpensive small lathe. I have several that I use when having a group of people turn pens. However, they've already turned pens and spindle projects. I am concerned whether this small lathe has enough power to handle a bowl. So this is a test. I purchased a small Wen chuck with one set of jaws and a screw. The screw is 10 millimeters in diameter. It appears to be too long for my wood. I marked the target depth with masking tape before drilling with a 5/6" bit. A bit small, but better than too loose. One issue with this lathe is that it lacks a spindle lock and an outboard spindle wheel. I also prepared a couple of spacers to compensate for not drilling the full depth of the screw. With a slightly small hole, it was difficult to mount the wood, but I managed. For my pen turning groups, I have them use a round carbide tool. I'll have my siblings use the same tool for their bowls. With the lathe's limited power, I cannot hog at the wood for quick removal, but I start at the outer edge, cutting from solid wood out to the octagon points. Little by little does the trick. Too much pressure and the lathe stalls, so I have to keep it gentle. Just a minute while I measure for a tenon and mark it on the wood. I form a foot and shape the exterior profile. I cheat a little to use my skew to refine the foot tenon. It is too hard to cut a dovetail with a round carbide cutter. It is difficult for me to imagine people turning a bowl without tenons and chucks in the good old days. My turning project many years ago used fir. While it can be pretty, the alternating hard and soft wood is tough to turn. It results in a lot of tear out and chips easily. With this in mind, I start sanding with 60 grit sandpaper. With very coarse sandpaper, I can preserve the curve while quickly sanding. After 60, I progress up through the grits, 80, 100, 120, 240, 320, 400. These grits sand even more quickly since the coarser, each finer grit is only removing the scratches from the previous grit. With the exterior completed, it is time to reverse mount the bowl. I have to remove the bowl from the screw and mount it to the chuck with a compression grip. If I were using a gouge, I could hog out wood but would probably stall this low-power lathe anyway. So I work it little by little until I reach the bottom of the screw hole. I am missing my heavy bowl gouge and more powerful lathe, but I am surviving. I do think the Carbide will be better for my siblings than my normal tools, since there is no time to talk about technique and time to recover from bad catches. Slow and steady with the Carbide on this lathe will be fine. On to sanding the interior again, starting with 60 grit. Even more important to start with 60 grit with the end grain tear out on the inside. There are some chips on the short grain on the edge to sand out, but once the tear out and the chips are gone, then sanding through the other grits is easy. I'm liking the sanding handle with Velcro or a 2-inch sanding disc. In my opinion on this fur is that the starting very coarse will improve the finish, since any final shaping and torn grain removal should cut more evenly through the alternating hard and soft wood. Then finer grits go more quickly and should not cut as much into the softer wood. Walnut oil is a quick, easy finish that is making the grain pop. Even though it is not supposed to be subject to spontaneous combustion, I always treat my rags as if it were. I have swapped over to the other lathe that my siblings will be using, a 12-inch Ricon. I have designed and 3D printed a set of large jaws for finishing the bottom, my DIY coal jaws. My jaws for the smaller 8-inch lathe are still printing as I finish this. Now to carefully finish the foot. I'm still constrained by the round carbide cutter, but I'm trying not to cheat. A good alternative is to press the bowl against a faceplate with live center pressure. I hope my siblings can make it through, but I'll be available to help if needed. But my jaws are very light duty and my bowl turns into a UFO. Now I remember the safety recommendation to keep the live center in place as long as possible. Finally, I cheat and use a spindle gouge. While you cannot see it, I can cut under the live center point, removing the damage, and leave a smooth surface. There's still more work to be done, so I pad the live center with a rubber stopper. Back to sanding the foot and bottom center. A little more walnut oil finishes my bowl. But this practice project is a bit painful for me to use tools that I'm not used to, but it works. I'm comfortable that my siblings can have a good experience. We'll see, though, and I have a pretty small bowl. However, I am ready to go back to my big lathe and regular tools. Meanwhile, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my website in addition to subscribing to YouTube. When you subscribe to my website, I send an email when there is a new video. Please share my videos with your friends. I keep these videos short and to the point to respect your viewing time. I always appreciate your comments and questions, and please wear your full face shield whenever the lathe is running.